is a new California law that mandates public boards have at least one female director by the end of this year. As a result, we're seeing changes to the boardroom in companies across the country. Julia Boorstin joins us. She's got more on this. And Julia, are there companies that were scrambling to try and fix this?
There were some companies in California that were scrambling. The smaller ones were rushing. We noticed more than the big ones, which had more time to plan and work this out. But what's really been interesting about this law is that we're seeing companies across the country pushing to make corporate boardrooms more diverse. That's prompted partially by the California law, as well as some reports showing that companies with female board members perform better. And the face of the boardroom is indeed changing. This year, the percentage of first-time directors that are female is 57%. That's up from 42% in 2017, according to Spencer Stewart. Now, there's one organization helping female directors, helping place female directors. The board list matches companies with qualified female board candidates. That organization tells us it saw corporate searches for female board members more than tripled to 300 in 2019 from the prior year. And it's not just in California. The board list saying it sees the California law having what it calls a halo effect across the country. And that halo is extending beyond gender diversity. The percentage of first-time directors that are minorities is 30%, up from 10% in 2017. Now, thanks to new appointments, women now comprise 26% of all directors, up from 16% back in 2009. And while some analysts and some folks have raised questions and concerns about the idea of overboarding, the idea that directors might be stretched too thin with too many board seats, we are seeing that risk be mitigated by proxy advisors, asset managers such as Vanguard, and companies placing limits on the number of board commitments any one individual can have. In fact, directors of S&P 500 companies who serve on two boards on average, and that number is unchanged over the last 5 years. So, Becky, guys, it's really interesting. We're actually ending up seeing a broader definition of what qualifies someone for a board. And the days of boards filled with just former CEOs and sitting CEOs really seem to be over.
Broader definition, that means we've relaxed the standards,
no,
or we're looking at new places?
That we're looking for people in new places or people with different kinds of experience. So there actually is a statistic also from Spencer Stewart showing that we're seeing more people who have experience within companies themselves. So running a division or serving, sort of running a certain part of a company, being appointed to a board and then bringing that expertise. But one thing that does seem consistent is boards are really looking for people with financial expertise.
Sure.
Maybe finding it different places.
They did this, though, because you can't find enough qualified former CEOs.
If you're just going to look for a former CEO,
when you only have so many female CEOs in the
exactly.
S&P 500, then, yeah, you need to be looking in other directions.
Well, I think part of it is also time. I mean, some of these boards are requiring 4 meetings a year, and a lot of the sitting CEOs can't do that.
Right, right.
How many companies...
But there aren't that many former CEOs either.
Right.
Like, if you try and dig through the ranks,
right.
Good luck if you can only serve on 2 boards.
How many companies in California do you think will ultimately have to pay the fine?
Well, it was interesting because we were going through this list, and there were some amazing statistics. Like, a year ago, hundreds of companies needed to hire a female board member. And then we found maybe 8 companies earlier this week, and then one or another, they were in the process of hiring.
No, there's a mad dash, because I've talked to some of the hirers. I actually talked to some female board members who are getting selected for these roles. Yeah. And by the way, I'm all for this. However, I will say, I talked to 2 female board members who are being hired to be board members who have their own misgivings about their decision to be hired.
Well, I mean,
they didn't think they were qualified enough or something?
They're very happy that they're getting the job,
but they think that, I'm sure.
But they say, look, I'm not sure I'm getting the job for the right reasons.
They don't want to
and I'm worried that once I get on this board, there are other people who are going to be on the board who are going to look at me and go, there was a requirement that we put you on the board, therefore we don't value you the way. Right. And so it's a very complicated, nuanced situation.
In the courts. It is being challenged in the courts. There are lawsuits about this, and the question is when it would actually start being enforced. So there were a handful of companies that were not going to comply in time, and maybe they thought it was cheaper to take the $100,000 fine than actually go through the expensive process.
$100,000 fine?
Of hiring someone. But we'll see what ends up happening. But it's definitely started a conversation. So whether or not it holds up in court, it's,
You'll see companies wanting to change the make of the boards anyway, regardless of the law.
History and progress.
Yes.
something good is happening.